Hi guys, it's Michaela. So I just decided to do a little 2020 wrapped up as we start off 2021. For many of us, quite honestly, let's just say this year has not been a good year, and then for my family in particular, it really was not a good year. I honestly have to say that 2020 has been the hardest year of my life. No, I'm not being over dramatic. It has definitely been the most trying year. January started off, I was pregnant. Things were seemingly pretty good. I mean, I got my yearly bug that I usually get between December and January, so that was to be expected. And then that kind of catapulted to a little bit of like some pregnancy depression for me. I wasn't really sure what was going on, but that had happened and that took me a while to get out of. And then middle of January came, February came, we found out we were having a little girl. That was a huge blessing on our part. I mean, we were so excited to be having another little girl to add to the family, so that was fun. March came, COVID hit. Things weren't, at that point I'd say it's safe that the whole world was kind of going through a bit of a hard time. So that was kind of a big downfall, but we managed to make it work. Quite honestly, I don't feel like this virus is the worst thing to have happened. I feel like we did gain a lot of opportunities to be able to meet with people that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten to meet with through video chats and other things. But then April hit and my husband had his brain injury, and that for us was extremely difficult. I thought that I was, I was still pregnant at the time, so I thought that I was going to go into having another baby as well as my 2-year-old little girl, just being a single mom, and that was really hard. And on top of that, I felt like the enemy was attacking me from all sides, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I mean, for a couple months there, it felt like there was no end in sight. And unfortunately, we are still dealing with the repercussions of the brain injury. However, we have been able to seek some help. We've gotten help from some really good people who have come into our lives. And I mean, though 2020 was bad, the amount of relationships that I now have because of the bad and the number of people who have stepped up have been really good. I mean, I've formed relationships with people who Marty knew, but I didn't necessarily have a relationship with, and they have become now an essential part of our lives, and just we've been able to make really good friendships, close, not even, it goes beyond friendships, it goes like to family connections. In our hurt as a family, I've experienced what it means to be loved by your community, and what that means, yeah, things were hard. We didn't just fall on the floor and get back up. We fell on the floor, and honestly, for a while there, it didn't feel like we could get back up. So a huge blessing from 2020 is that there have been people that God has placed in our lives to help us get back up. And though we are still working on that, I don't think it'll be too much longer before we realize that we're actually thriving. Yeah, and when I say not too much longer, I mean it's probably going to take a couple of years, but I mean maybe it'll happen sooner, maybe it won't. But just the amount of love and support that we have through a community who refuses to let us stay down when we fall, and who took us by the hands and lifted us back up, whether it was in prayer, whether they did something to help our family, anything that anyone could provide for us, whether it was a meal or anything. I mean, I truly felt the love of that, and that has been a huge blessing in 2020 for us, is that nobody let us stay down when we were not okay, and they came and they thrived. And I learned what it was like to kind of be humble and kind of need in a way I didn't think I would need ever in my life. And I've learned that, God is there. God is there in the trials. God is there when it doesn't feel like it. So yes, 2020 was a horrible year, but the amount of love through the people that came in my community, they didn't just see us hurting and come by to help us. No, they heard what was happening from miles away, and they came to our side to help us emotionally, physically, spiritually, however we needed it. So that was a huge blessing, and I've gotten to form relationships with people outside of my community because of telehealth. And that's something I definitely would like to keep using going forward, because there have been just amazing people that, you know, we've been able to connect a lot closer than ever before. Though we may have been socially distanced, it's like, yeah, we're physically farther apart, but we're able to see each other through a video chat. And quite honestly, I would love to be able to get out and about more and do more things without some of the masks and stuff, but that's a video for another time. Which would be, you know, it'd be nice, but you know what? Just the amount of connections. And then one of the biggest blessings happening in my life is on June 24th of 2020, my little girl was born. My baby was born. No, Marty was not there, and that was difficult, and I deal with a lot of hurt because of that. But he got to be there through video chat, and though he was still in early recovery of his brain injury, he was there enough to be able to support me in the ways he was able to at the time, and that was a huge blessing. So our baby girl is thriving. My 2-year-old, she's thriving. She's happy. I mean, she had a difficult year. She didn't understand what was going on. So when our family was reunited again at the end of the summer, for her that was huge, to have been able to love and have that whole feeling again. And I mean, there's this picture that we have of when I was pregnant, sitting out on my parents' front porch, and that was the day we found out that Marty was going to live. And that right there, I mean, talk about learning what your blessings are, because those little things that would otherwise have been little have now become big things. That he's breathing again on his own. Okay, he's waking up. Okay, he's talking. And it's all these things that you just wouldn't otherwise, you'd be like, what the heck? That's, you know, he sounds pretty bad still. But in the moment, those little milestones were actually big milestones. It's, you know, and then just my youngest reaching her 6-month mark. She's rolling around now, and that's a huge milestone too. And just, you know, so many blessings as well as so many hard times. Honestly, would I change 2020 if I could? Yes. I'm not gonna lie, it's not one of those situations where I'm like, okay, you know, if I could go back and change the past, would I? And the answer is no. No, I'd go back and change it, because it's been a hard year. I would, however, take the lessons I have learned, and I would take the people I gained from it. The situation itself, there's a lot of things I would have changed, like not having to deal with this virus, but I would keep the telehealth and the option of doing stuff from home. I would keep the relationships that I have formed. So, yeah, honestly, going into 2021, there are things I am worried about, things I am stressed about, but that's something I can get into at another time. Hopefully it's better than 2020. Honestly, I personally, and I don't mean to sound hopeless, I have my fears, but in the end, God is in control. God's the one that's got us. You know, nothing's gonna happen without his provision, and everything does happen for the good, because like I said, even though we have this virus, there has been a lot of good that has come out of it. God does good for those who love him. I'm not quite sure where the scripture stands, but I know it's there. I will look it up and put it in the description box. But God does work, and God does do good, and God does not leave his children sitting behind. He loves his children. He's there for us, and he wants nothing more than to see us thrive and to come to him. And even if 2021 is just as bad as 2020, we know that God is still there and God is in charge. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. God bless, and bye guys.